That blast of the shofar is not simply the defining sound of these days of awe. It's not simply a wake-up call to our souls to do the work of this season, the work of chuva. It's actually a map of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going in our efforts to do chuva. There are actually 4 types of shofar blasts, and there are 4 steps on our journey. We begin with the Tikia, that first blast that is clean and pure and complete. We move on from there to Shvarim, to the 3 separate blasts. Da-da, da-da, da-da. From there we move on to Trua, the 9 shattered blasts. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then finally from there, we end with the Tikia Dola, the big cry, the call of the shofar that is actually as long as all the other ones combined. We'll come back to that. But we begin with the Tikia, that first full and complete cry, because we all come from someplace full and complete. In many cases, it was our mother's womb, where everything we needed was entirely at hand. Food, water, oxygen, human connection was so fully right at hand, we weren't even aware it could be otherwise. We were, in some ways, in an Edenic paradise. We were complete, shalem, and so we could feel peace, shalom. I know for me, one of the places that embodies that is the yeshiva that I studied at in Israel. And on my last day of studies there, the head of the institution said, "You'll always be a ben bayit. You'll always be a child of this place." And in fact, whenever I've gone back to visit over the subsequent 20 years, I felt at home, at peace, as if this is my place. But in no cases can that feeling of completeness, that feeling of perfection last forever. Inevitably, we have to leave those places that nurture us and separate ourselves and differentiate ourselves. This is true both now and throughout history. The Bible tells that when Abraham saw that his son Isaac was weaned, he threw a huge party to celebrate that now Isaac was a little bit more independent, a little bit more on his own. And in fact, even to this day, the traditional blessing that somebody says when their child becomes bar bat mitzvah is Baruch shepatarni me'onsho shelazeh. Blessed is the one who has relieved me of full and complete responsibility for this child. For now, at 13, they're a little bit more on their own. But this work of shvarim, of separating, of distinguishing between me and you, is necessary, but that doesn't mean it's easy. My oldest child's a teenager now, and there is something beautiful and wonderful about watching them come into being their own person, and also something painful, something lost, of the little kid who'd curl up in my lap and just want the attention of her daddy. That separation and growth is necessary, but also painful. But our journey doesn't stop there, at shvarim, at separation. We move on to Trua, to those 9 shattering blasts that embody all of the experiences of our lives that shatter us, that we wouldn't think we could live through if we hadn't already lived through them. Death, divorce, bankruptcy, betrayal, the feelings of things going terribly wrong, terribly outside of what we planned or imagined or hoped for. And it's not just that things can go wrong and experiences can be shattering. We enter into this shame spiral when things don't go the way we hope they would, the way we wanted to, the way we think we deserve. And we go down and down. Brent Brown, a scholar and researcher who looks into human emotion, describes shame as the intensely painful feeling that comes from believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love. I know that feeling in my kishkas. I imagine many of you do as well. I remember one time I had my 5-year-old at the playground, and they were getting up to get on the monkey bars. They were determined to make it work. And they would jump up and grab on and fall down. And they'd jump up again and grab on and fall down. And then they'd jump and they'd fall down again. And I was standing there cheering for them, wanting them to make it work, and seeing the line of kids behind them getting uchi, getting impatient, and there my kid was jumping again and falling down. And jumping and falling down. And as I felt myself getting more and more frustrated, I drew on my many years of prayer and meditation and contemplative practice and looked at my child, the love of my life, and said, just move already! Jump or don't jump, but you're making everyone wait! Just move! And I watched my child literally tremble in fear as I was shouting at them for not doing the monkey bars right. And I could see all of the other parents looking at me in utter horror. In fact, one of them later said to me, it actually made me feel better because if I figure if the rabbi is screaming at his kids, maybe I'm not doing so bad. In that moment, not only did I cause shame and pain and embarrassment for my child, I felt it myself as I saw myself as entirely not who I wanted to be, not how I imagined myself. In my wildest fantasies, I didn't see myself as somebody who was going to be shouting at their child for doing the monkey bars wrong. And yet there I was. I was in that small moment shattered, as I've been shattered again and again, and as we all have. But our journey doesn't stop there either. In that same essay, Brown says there is an antidote to that feeling of shame and that spiral of shame in which you feel worse about feeling bad. And the antidote is compassion, connection, and courage. And that brings us all the way to the Tikia Dola, the large cry, the huge cry, the cry that is so big that it carries all of the other ones with it. Because to get to do the work of chuva, of returning to that Edenic place we came from, we have to bring all of our journey with us. Our pain and our success, our failures and our glory, they all have to come. There's a Japanese art called Kintukori, in which pottery that's been shattered is put back together with gold cement holding the pieces together. And the finished work doesn't hide over the cracks and the fractures. It actually makes them all the more beautiful, knowing that the beauty of this piece of pottery is intrinsically tied to how its scars, how its fractures, how its broken places can be incorporated ever more beautifully into the whole. That is the work of chuva. Because for us to go back to that Edenic place, that perfect place of shalem and shalom, we can't go back naive. We can't go back innocent of everything that we've experienced, everything we've done, everything that we've had happen to us in our lives. We can only go back full and complete. We bring all of those things with us. And when we are able to look at all of our broken places, all of our flawed places, all of the places where we've been shattered and put back together, and see them as held together with gold, and see ourselves in our glory and our failure, and see ourselves as worthy of being loved and worthy of loving others, then we are doing the work of chuva. Then we are able to re-enter into our relationships in a wholehearted way. That is the work of these days of awe. That is the journey we're going to be going on, and I look forward to going on that journey with you. Allow me to say a few words about how this journey is going to work, because it's going to be fairly different than in years past. For each piyut or poem that makes up the Rosh Hashanah davening, Cantor Ellen will chant it. I will offer a spiritual exercise so that we can work those muscles of chuva, and a member of our community will share some thoughts and reflections, to God willing, opening the pathways for all of us to do the work of chuva. We'll have an opportunity to reflect after each one as we collectively and individually make that journey from the wholeness of Tikia to the separation of Shavarim, to the shattering of Trua, to, I hope, back again to the Tikia Dola, that full, complete cry that brings us back to our place of wholeness, including everywhere we've been on our journey. I look forward to going on this journey with you. I hope we are all able to do the work of chuva, of becoming better people in this year to come. And I wish us all, in our families, in our communities, and in our country, a Shana Tova Umetuka, a year of goodness and sweetness.